And let me thank all of you for coming. Let me just start off by saying to you immediately, when it comes to, let's say, just law enforcement, you all are the experts in the area. I am not. So let me just start off by saying that I am not. But I do know, though, if we are going to keep the city and the region safe, okay, it's going to require collaboration of us all. Now, that much I do know. On yesterday, had a meeting out in the community with a number of community folks, citizens, residents, pastors, various community leaders, and that was on yesterday. And essentially, the call that we were making on yesterday is that any violence in, let's say, in the city, in the county, doesn't matter where, is more violence than what we need. Any one person injured is more than what need to be happening. Any one person's loss of life is more than should be occurring. So recognizing all of that. But so yesterday, in many ways, the focus was on the community and saying to the community, saying to people, our citizens, we need your participation. And everybody has the role to play. But let me just read some comments that I wrote down, just so that, and then I'm going to pull away from this. But the reason why you're invited here today is to start the discussion on a citywide public safety initiative. And I will tell you up front, as Mayor of the City of Houston, a little more, Chief Montalvo, 5,200 police officers in the City of Houston, few of them what we had 10 years ago. A number of them are eligible to retire right now. There is just no way that you can cover 676 square miles to the level that we would like with 5,200 police officers. It's just, there's no way. Because a part of that, our universities, community colleges, ISDs are all a part of the City of Houston. And quite frankly, if you're in the city, you're also in the county. So there's just no way 5,200 is going to do that. Overall, crime is down, but the public in many ways has a different perception. Because you can say to the general public, the crime is down, but if someone's house has been burglarized, if some senior has been assaulted, if somebody sees on the television people breaking into their stores, pizza store, grocery store, someone getting killed, saying the numbers are down doesn't mean anything to them. Okay, all they know, it happened to me, or it happened in my neighborhood, it happened in my community, and we are fearful, we are scared. So those are the realities that we deal with. We need to work collaboratively on solutions. I don't want this to be my public safety initiative. It is not mine. It is ours. And the question is, how can we provide increased coverage and visibility for our residents? And I do know what's important to people. There's no direct panacea, but simply by increasing the visibility goes a long, long way. And it doesn't matter whether it's an HPD vehicle, if it's a constable vehicle in the area, if it's a vehicle with someone affiliated with the ISDs, okay? If it's a Metro Police in the neighborhood, just increasing the visibility. Number one, I think works to reduce that crime activity, or at the very minimum, it enhances people's security in their neighborhoods, especially when they're walking in the neighborhood or just living there, just the visibility. And the question that I am posing, and I know in talking with Chief Montalvo, she's already indicated that there are a number of things that you all are already doing collaboratively. I understand that and got that. The question is, can we do more to increase the visibility? So for example, the example I would like to use, if you're living in a particular neighborhood in the City of Houston, you may see a HPD. Or if you don't see HPD, you'll see a constable vehicle. If you don't see a constable vehicle, you'll see a sheriff vehicle. Or it's just on the school districts. And I know there's a tendency sometimes just to cover the school property, so to speak. But can we increase the periphery a little bit more? And I'm not necessarily saying anybody go outside of your jurisdiction, so to speak, and go and arrest folk. But just to, if you're not just circling, for example, the school property, but you're circling, let's say, the parks that may be very close to those schools, or that adjacent neighborhood. Just that presence makes a lot. And so I am asking all of us, and primarily you, let's work to find ways where we can collaborate even more, partner even more, working, sharing information even more, but at the very minimum, increasing visibility. Number two, approaching our kids more. At one point in time, we used to have the DARE program, but the enemy of the DARE program was the lack of resources. Now we got a smaller version like the TIP program in some of our schools. But if we collaborate between the ISDs and Metro and the Constable's Office and HPD, we can certainly have much more visibility within our schools themselves, where many of these kids get to kind of know police and law enforcement, and they don't view one as the enemy of the other. And that becomes critically important. So I want you to kind of think about that. But from my vantage point, it's simply saying, even though the city of Houston, for example, in this case, may have fewer resources, how can we partner with all of you to maximize law enforcement's presence so that the citizenry will know that we are working in collaboration, they can see it, it's visible, and we are having an impact. And then at the same time, asking the people in the community to do more and to step up. Because what I've been saying to people, parents and others, if a kid who doesn't have a job goes outside, leaves the home, and they come back and they got plenty of money and bringing in a whole lot of stuff, and they didn't have a job, didn't get a job from the time they leave, it had to come from somewhere, okay? And so you kind of have to police your own household, okay? So there are things that they can do, and there are things that we can do. That's my ask of you. It's not a complicated deal, but I really admit, not the expert, just a facilitator, okay? And I'm hoping through the discussions today that we can just come up with a few definitive things that can add on top of what's already occurring so that the general public will feel safer, if that makes sense. Basically, we have different law enforcement agencies that are covering the same 676 square miles, and this is a way of collaborating our resources. Everyone is dealing with fewer resources. HPD, limited resources, 5,200 police officers, fewer than we had several years ago. Same thing with the sheriff department, same thing with the constables. So this was about pulling together all of the different law enforcement organizations, from Houston Police, the sheriff's office, the constables, the Independent School District Police, Spring, Aldine, A-Leaf, Spring Branch, the community colleges, University of Houston Police, bringing all these resources together, Metro, and working on better collaboration and improving the partnerships. They're already doing it at a certain level, but as one person indicated, it's about taking it to the next level. But they do an excellent job at coordinating when we're talking about like the Super Bowl or the NCAA or the big events. Excellent coordination, excellent visibility. Now, certainly want to give as much a focus and attention on that same sort of coordination in policing neighborhood, in policing communities, enhancing the visibility, dealing with gangs in more of a collective way, and then making sure that everybody is better communicating with one another. There was a lot of conversation about ways to enhance and improve communication with the different law enforcement organizations. And then, as one individual said, geo-fencing, where you can map out who's in this jurisdiction, the different law enforcement agencies that are covering a particular geographical neighborhood, and coordinating the utilization of your resources to have more effective coverage and enhanced visibility. I thought it was an excellent meeting, sharing ideas, and then they'll subdivide into smaller groups to kind of come up with some recommendations on how to proceed and go forward. But I thought it was an excellent
Any more
meeting.
of these planned for the future?
Oh, yeah. I think this was just the first. Crime is not seasonal; it's year round. But the other day was to focus on communities and neighborhoods, the neighbors themselves. Today's focus was dealing with the law enforcement organizations and agencies that cover the metropolitan region. So, and that's what it's all about. How do we maximize the limited resources that we have to provide maximum coverage to enhance the safety of people in the city of Houston? And you can only do that if you're talking with one another. This was one of those meetings so that we can talk with one another.
In the beginning of the meeting, you suggested, for example, for school district police to extend their patrol area. Is that something that people thought was a good idea?
Yep. In fact, and some of them are already doing it. They've entered into I guess, agreements that they can go be kind of somewhat beyond their jurisdiction. And so now it's a question of just enhancing it or working with others to do the same thing. But there are a lot of interlocal agreements that already exist amongst the different law enforcement agencies. The thing that kept coming up over and over and over again is how do we enhance communication and how do we better engage in data sharing. So there's, everybody has information, but it's sharing that information and then communicating with one another and better coordinating. So there's coordination that's already occurring. I think what came out of this meeting is how do we enhance that communication? How do we engage in better data sharing? And then how do we make sure that when we're dealing with gangs and other activities like that, we're much more coordinated? So I'm very pleased with the first meeting, and I'm sure there will be others.
Richard, when you say data sharing, what kind of data do you mean?
Like that came from the DA's office. There are a lot of things that they are getting in terms of where crimes are being committed and who's committing those crimes. So the DA may be looking at it and may have their own analysis. Constables may be having their own analysis. HPD may have theirs. The sheriff's department may have its own data and analysis. It's sharing all of that information. And I think what may find is that what's happening in one area is also occurring someplace else. The same people may be involved. The same people committing these crimes may be involved. So it's better sharing the information that each one of these agencies are receiving and making sure that they're all operating from the same data, okay? And then communicating much better on how to patrol and police the geographical areas. So I thought it was an excellent start. I think people recognize the importance of working collaboratively when you have limited resources. And the communication was excellent, the dialogue was excellent, and there will be others to come. But an excellent start.